Greetings, you furiously fantastic people, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is doing its best out there. I would give that a... I'm going to go ahead and say it is shining, but it's kind of like dubious. And the Magpie is casting. Coming at you right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle, fresh from the ladder, featuring, spawning in the east, it is going to be the Overcommand West forces of WMM's Finndeed. And spawning in the west, it is going to be the Soviet forces of Kolter. So yep, this is just happened to be the top-rated live game lobby game that was going on at the time. A couple of players here, I believe, who have actually featured on the channel before, though not frequently, and I don't know much about them. I will cast another allied faction as soon as they're doing, as soon as they're the top game on the ladder. I do know, I'm cognizant of the fact that I have cast a lot of Soviet play recently, but I don't actually mind that, and I do love the Soviet faction, to be honest. They have a special place in my heart. Obviously, they've been in the game for the longest time. And they're just good fun to play with. They're a nice idiosyncratic faction. I feel like they're a kind of a complete package faction, if you like, as in, like, they kind of have a way of doing everything. They're one of the most all-roundy factions, they can kind of do everything, which is nice. And it's always nice to see how players use them, because they're a broad enough faction that, there's quite a lot of different styles available, even right from the get-go. Do you go penals, which indeed we've got some on the field right now? Do you go conscript heavy? Do you go maxims? There's all kinds of stuff you can do, and a lot of their commanders are not just like augmentative to your playstyle kind of commanders. There are some transformative commanders as well that open up completely new playstyles. Things like Lend-Lease, Partisans, all that kind of thing. As I just take a sip of my tea. So, yeah, I'm always game for casting Soviets, really. What can I say? I like them. They're like... you know what? I should play more Soviets, shouldn't I? I've been, like, trying to make an effort to, like, pick up USF, but, like, I just know in my heart that... somehow they're not going to work for me. Anyway, so we've got an initial fight going down here. Looks like Storm Pioneers, Volks Grenadiers taking a fight in good cover. Kolter wanting no part of that, so he's going to move these penals back a little bit, going to save them for a little for a fight down the road. Conscript's going to get into a reasonable building here, a couple of windows on each side, so allowing them to split their fire, but they are being outgunned, and the Axis troops firing at them are all in good cover here, so I imagine these conscripts actually probably aren't really going to get a lot done. Actually, very bravely, looks like Finndeed going to vault the cover and come in here, and this is so risky. He's actually close enough to this building now that this cover is probably doesn't even count, because of the way the cover in Company of Heroes 2 works. If you're close enough to the target, to the unit that's shooting at you, you don't actually get your cover bonus. It's crazy, but it's true. So, I think it was even on this map that I saw a test video demonstrating the range at which cover gets ignored, and I believe from this building you ignore these walls, and I think maybe even this truck as well, so, yeah, unless there's been a change, which I feel like I would know about, yeah, that's definitely still the case. Anyway, conscript here going to get, sorry, those are conscripts, going to get sent packing for now. Volks Grenadiers also trading, and I would say that the opening skirmishes here are kind of really going very evenly. It is to Kolter's credit that he's going to end up holding this building, which is absolutely pivotal on this map. And I mean, he's gone for the special rifle command, so obviously there's not going to be a Maxim anytime soon. But I feel like if he could get an MG into this building somehow, that would be sweet. Has he got anybody who can bring him a Dansack at some point? No. Well, anyway. Controlling this building, even without an MG, is great, but obviously if you do have an MG, that sort of locks down the choke into your opponent's base, which, when you're playing on Semyovsky, is really good. Now, obviously, this is Semyovsky Winter, so it's not that powerful, because infantry can just wander across the ice here, but you never really want to be wandering across the ice, especially when there's an MG in this building, so... Dear me, pardon me. So let's see. The Axis player being very active at the poles of the map. That's the north and the south. The Soviet player Kolter here still doing his best to hold on to mid here. We've got a Schwervermacht Schlepper coming on out, and it looks like we're actually going to see a mechanized regiment here. So mixing it up a bit here is Finndeed. I still feel like OKW players kind of go about 75-25 Battle Gripper HQ mech reg. In fact, it's probably a bit more extreme than that. It may even be like 85-15 in terms of like percentage of games that I kind of see a Battle Gripper first or a mechanized reg first. But we are going to see a mechanized reg first. I kind of like that because this map has a reasonably long fallback distance. And it's, pardon me, and it's one of those maps where it feels like your opponent is always like slightly further away. So having access to faster choices, like the Puma, like the Luchs and so forth, that's pretty cool. It enables you to police your opponents and police the map a lot better. So anyway, yep, mechanized reg is now complete. And obviously we're going to need to see some fuel out of Finndeed before we can see what kind of a choice he's going to go for. But his fuel income right now, moderately healthy. That's going to change as soon as these conscripts grab the fuel point, of course. Action going on all across the map, so I'm just sort of panning the camera around here and there, keeping tabs on all of it. I believe the Axis player will take this fight in the south. Volks tend to... Yeah, there we go. Going to boss those engineers out of there. These conscripts really need addressing because a couple of squads of Axis forces up further forwards. Whoa, Storm Pioneers even getting the drop on a unit of conscripts, actually, is very inconvenient for the Soviet player. And it seems like small things. It's like, oh no, he had to fall back some conscripts, you know, and they're not even that far from the base. But every squad that you force your opponent to fall back is a squad that's out of circulation and off the front line, out of combat. It means that all of your future fights for the next minute or so, whilst that squad gets turned around and sent back to the front, are going to be more efficient because there's less enemies shooting at you. It also means that you can get out on the map and do a lot more capping relative to your opponent, who, you know, one of his ground-taking units has been forced out of the field and things. So these little early fallbacks, they are what defines the texture of the early game, and you know, that's incredibly important, basically. STGs coming down at quite early timing onto these Volks Grenadiers. I mean, I have to say, generally, I've seen players backing off of going for STGs these days, leaving it until a little bit later. These conscripts also going to be forced out. Nice little pincer here. Volks and Storm Pioneers doing a sort of textbook OKW maneuvers here. So nice to see here. Finndeed definitely is indeed in control of his units here, using them very nicely. And I don't know, it's hard to give the lead to either player here, but I think just simply based on the VP situation, Finndeed opening up a 70-ticket lead, it has to be him who finds himself in the better position, although it has been very close and there's been no dramatic turnarounds in terms of combat or anything. Actually, I believe Kolter may have to yield this building. He's down to just 2 penals in there, and they are getting shot down by a number of Volks. Yeah, there we go. I think, actually, if Finndeed can now grab this building and leapfrog forwards into mid, he should find himself in a pretty nice position. Looks like Panzer II Luchs going to be the choice for him. You can see that one popping up onto the queue now, and I do like that a lot. I mean, I think if you're opening Mech Reg on this map, if you detect that your opponent has opened Special Rifle Command, the Panzer II Luchs is just an absolutely beautiful choice, basically. The Special Rifle Command is a very potent building, and it lets the Soviet player do a whole lot of things that they don't normally get to. However, it does leave them quite vulnerable to vehicles, because, I mean, what are you really going to use against vehicles from that building? I mean, you know, you can still put down mines, you've still got demo charges, I guess, but beyond that, I mean, you're on your AT grenades and your conscripts, really, and that does not tend to a Panzer II Luchs beat. So, in fact, you know what? Spoiler alert! If you've not watched the last game on the channel, which featured the much gloried Gentle Fox, then do go and watch that now, because I'm about to, you know, some spoilers and talk about that video. But yeah, in that video we saw Gentle Fox playing as Vermax. His Soviet opponent opened Special Rifle Command, and immediately Gentle Fox put a 222 on the queue and followed it up with a 251 reinforcing half track. And because his opponent didn't have access to Zis guns or any real way of getting rid of those units, he went on to dominate quite heavily in the early mid game. So I kind of like the style here. I think the Panzer II Luchs makes a ton of sense against the Special Rifle Command. I mean, look, there's just nothing that can touch this unit. He's getting so aggressive with it. Look how far forward this Panzer II Luchs is. And unless he runs foul on some mines or falls asleep and lets some conscripts give him the AT grenade kiss, then this thing is just going to be like just ripping through Soviets for the next, I don't know, at least 40 seconds. There is a T-70 on the queue, and that will be able to push that Panzer II back, but I mean, that is some time away for now. More fights being taken by Finndeed in mid. He's also going to be grabbing back his fuel. The Soviet player active, though, grabbing northern VP, grabbing northern ammo, also grabbing south fuel point here. So absolutely fighting for all he's worth here is Kolter. And I have to say, you know, going back to my point about opening Special Rifle Command with Soviets, Special Rifle Command is a reasonably cheap building, as I recall. Wow, he lost his engineers somewhere. Oh, I totally missed that. Was that the Panzer II that got them? I think the Panzer II here might have got them. Anyway, T-70's out now. Panzer II's going to try and GTFO. It is reversing. Does have the road here to make it a bit faster. There are some mines here. Whose mines are these? Uh-oh, these are shoe mines. So that T-70 has to be careful. Okay, it's not going to pursue the Panzer II. It's not going to overextend. That's good. Is there okay, there's engineers coming onto the field now. Metal detector is actually coming up on them, so that's cool. That's cool. Volks here taking a sweet fight, using the incendiary to force these conscripts, pardon me, out of the building. Actually, they're just going to jump into the bit. That's still on fire, bro. Okay, they're just leapfrogging out. Oh, no, STGs at point-blank range. These conscripts, actually, in quite a pickle. I know there's a fight going on with some tanks up north. Okay, looks like the Soviet player is going to dodge the squad wipe here. Yeah, those conscripts are going to be out of there, right? I'm just going to keep following them because they're on such low health, though. Okay, they're going to get out there. Cool. Alright, so T-70 up here is policing some Axis infantry. The Panzer II Luchs has been repaired, and I'm sure it would love to get stuck back in, but it probably can't for now because, you know, this thing's still here. So a Rakettenwerfer is going to be on the queue here to help Finndeed take care of the Soviet light tank, and that makes a lot of sense to me. Armor is engaging us! No! Building Soviet economy. I don't know if any of you ever played the Red Alert series, but that is where all of my Soviet accent knowledge comes from. Making Russia strong. Da? Yeah. So anyway, Magpie's amazing voice acting. This Panzer II Luchs, though, does fall foul of the shoe mines, and the... sorry, not the Panzer II. The T-70 falls foul of the shoe mines, and the little Panzer II comes and rinses it. Oh my god! Oh no! Kolter, buddy, I feel for you. This is just... oh, arg. And now we're back to that situation where he has no answer for a Panzer II. Oh my god, losing a T-70 always sucks, but losing a T-70 when it was your only answer to your opponent's Panzer II, oh my god, that's rough. And he has no fuel. Like, he just... there's no fuel here. Yeah, I mean, he's bought medics that don't cost fuel. He's bought AT grenades. They do cost fuel, but the conscripts being idle in the base, I feel like Kolter right now is in disarray. If this was a boxing match, like, you know, his face would be slow-mo reeling, you know, his flesh rippling and streams of saliva and blood flying out the side of his mouth as he gets, like, smashed by a haymaker here from Finndeed, and it is going to be on Kolter to try and recover here. I feel like he's a bit stunned, though, you know? You don't take a blow like that so easily, and yeah, he's just... What are these conscripts actually doing with their lives? Are they just trying not to get killed by a Panzer II? That does not feel efficient, and here comes the support weapon Campanella. And I sort of think this is kind of... I was hinting at this earlier, and I just think if you open Special Rifle Command, right, then... unless you have a really funky commander who can plug the gaps in that tech choice, relying just on Tankovy Battalion Command units to supplement your Special Rifle Command is so risky because you're so vulnerable to light vehicles, like you just are. So I sort of think, you know, I'm not the best Soviet player, and when I play Soviets, I never open Special Rifle Command, to be fair. But I think if I did open Special Rifle Command, I would... I just don't feel like I'd be able to play a good game as Soviets without the support weapon Campanella. It's just such a useful building. Like, Zis guns are amazing. Maxims are amazing. And even the PM81 mortar, like, that's a great unit. It's underused, to be honest. But it's a good unit, you know, there's nothing wrong with that mortar squad. In fact, there's quite a lot right with it. Okay, it doesn't have the fire rate of the American mortar, or the Axis, or the Wehrmacht mortar, but it's like spooky accurate, and it also has the 6-man crew, so it tends to go on to get good veterancy. So anyway, big fight coming down here. Panzer II Luchs, though, is just on the scene, and that pretty much is it for the Soviet player. Like, what does he get? Okay, he tries for the Ura. Oh, the Panzer II sluggish to respond here, so the AT grenade should connect. Ding! There it is. But that doesn't actually change anything, really. Because this Panzer II is still just going to continue to mow down Soviet infantry like some kind of horrendous grey lawnmower here. Poor Soviets. And there's just nothing they can do. Like, that entire fight was pretty much for the benefit of forcing back 2 squads. Okay, that's not nothing. And getting an AT grenade on a Panzer II Luchs. Well, taking that much damage on a lot of your squads and falling back 3 of them, not a good trade for the Soviet player. Possibly, you might argue, all he could get right now. But anyway, he now has 2 Zis guns. And now, I like his position. Look at this army in the top right. Look at this army in the top left. These 2 armies now feel like they are, like, well matched. Like I could no longer tell you for sure whose army is going to win. Up until now, the army with the Panzer II Luchs just for sure was going to win because, you know, there were no Zis guns. But now that the 2 Zis guns are here, well, anything could happen. This game's super alive now. I just hope that Kolter, I mean, he's hemorrhaged down to 235 tickets, and his opponent's still with a clean sheet, actually, up at 500. So I feel like Kolter here, like, you know, he has stabilized, but he's taken a grievous blow. 270 tickets down. He's basically lost to this Panzer II. I mean, okay, the Panzer II probably only cost him maybe 200 of those tickets because he was already a little bit behind. But I mean, that Panzer II has delivered a pretty solid, you know, pretty solid blow to the jaw of Kolter here. And now, well, now we're going to have to see if he can recover. It's not impossible, but it will be difficult. Now, there's been no commander choices here from either player, so they both still have that. Kolter here doesn't really have any of those commanders that you can click on to get you out of a pickle. you know, like partisans, or, you know... Okay, so he's going to choose a commander right now, actually. So he's interrupting my point, but I'll let's see. So he's going to go for, okay, this is shot rifle frontline tactics. Oh wow, okay, cool. So this used to be quite a staple. This used to be quite a staple, actually. But I haven't seen him for a long time. Still, as far as I know, though, just a really useful commander. You get shock troops who are good. You get a camo, which is great if you have Zis guns. Which, look, there are Zis guns. He's actually going to make use of this sweet ability. You know, you get the incendiary artillery call-in, which it's great. It arrives quickly, it saturates an area, it can do grievous damage, even to units that are falling back. I like that call-in. It's probably still one of my most, like, oh my god, it's scary to have it used against you. You know what I mean? It really raises the pulse when you when that one gets called in against you. He also gets the flame tank and the IS-2, which are both, like, absolutely sinister in terms of their capacity to gib units. So, yeah. That's exciting stuff. So here comes the incendiary artillery. Looks... Oh, I mean, that was a desperate artillery, though. That's not how you want to use it. Well, that's just going to be nothing, really, isn't it? What? Okay. So the way to use this is not to just, like... That was a kind of a frantic, a hurried click. These Storm Pioneers are getting stuck in for damage here. But that was like a hurried click, and that is not the way you want to use it. These Zis guns are just hung out to dry. There's a Maxim here, but that too is hung out to dry. If the incendiary comes onto the Maxim, and it does... Oh, no. Well, now the Maxim has to pack up and move, which means that these Volks could keep this fight going. But anyway, yeah, as I was saying, the way you want to try and use the incendiary, or the more optimum way, is rather than just like frantically, like snatchily trying to click it onto a couple of enemy squads who aren't engaged or doing anything and therefore are free to move. You want to use it on enemies that are engaging your units, possibly at the beginning of a reasonable, you know, fight where a few of your units and a few of your opponent's units are meeting on the field of battle, and then you put it down to either force them to move, in which case you just keep shooting them whilst they move, or force them out of the fight, in which case you just take the area. Or you can put it just behind their army, and this is my personal favourite, just behind their squads at the beginning of a fight. And that makes your opponent have to think very, very hard about whether they want to commit to that fight, because if they fall back, you know, they have to fall back through the flames, and that often leads to many, many dead units. So, yeah, I mean, when I say you use it in that style, I don't mean you just, like, at the start of the fight, you just put it down behind their units. I mean, that's silly, because it will be gone by the time it's relevant. I mean, you put it down behind their units, like, as it looks like they're kind of losing the fight and they might want to start pulling back some of their units, you put it down behind their units then, and it can be very destructive. Anyway, enough about the incendiary artillery call-in. There is a PM41, PM41 I was calling it the PM81 earlier, wasn't I? Well, that was wrong. But the PM41 is here. You can hear it donking shells out here, and that is that's good to hear. Going to be putting some pressure on this Raketenwerfer, and that's going to make life a little harder for the Axis player here, who has established his Schwerpanzer HQ. Sorry, didn't spot that till just now. And he even has Obersoldaten out on the field. Oh my god, Obersoldaten. Oh my... this is going to be so rough. But having said that, I think Kolter does have like a reasonable army, so he may be able to take a fight here. If he can just stabilize and get some traction here. Is this gun finally finding the Panzer II Luchs here? Oh no, but the little tank here is just overrunning, and Kolter's line is in complete disarray here. I think he just lost some conscripts. And this Panzer II, how this Zis gun has not died to the Panzer II. I mean, that moving accuracy on the Panzer II is awful. There we go, he gets it at last. Zis gun going to adjust here, but I mean, the arc is off. The arc is off. Okay, he gets a final hit there. A little goodbye kiss there to the Panzer II, but I believe this little tank's going to escape, and it's now up to 2 stars of vet. 2 stars when it gets the rate of fire increase, and that makes it so much scarier, does so much more DPS. Now, okay, Finndeed, though, has forgotten to build units. Like, he's stacking 1,000 manpower, and look at his army. It's pretty tiny. I mean, this is 6 units, of which I would say only 5 are really frontline combat units. Compare and contrast to the Soviet player who has 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, right, only really 4 frontline units, but he has a lot more support units. You know, 2 Zis guns, Maxim, 2 engineer squads. So Finndeed, buddy, what are you stacking 1,000 manpower for? My god, if he just had, like, I don't know, 2 more Volk squads and another Obersoldaten squad, this would probably be over. Finndeed, what the? There's no excuse for this. This is a terrible macro. Is he just keeping a bank so that he can just, like, build a Panzer IV when he feels like it? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense, though. I'm a bit confused about this. Anyway, he is going to go for a second squad of Obersoldaten. LMG 34 is completed on the other squad. Whoa, these Obersoldaten need to run! Yep, that's not what they want to be. And there's a KV2 on the field now. So, sorry, KV8 even. So that's going to be... oh, wow. Actually, it could even pursue. This is a road, so it's going to get a speed buff. Why is it not flaming these guys. There we go. So yeah, well, one of the scariest things about the KV-8, of course, is that it can pretty much keep up with retreating infantry squads. And of course, with the flamethrower, it's like pretty super effective against infantry squads. So a potent combo there. But Kolter is like down on 77, 76 now, and he's still bleeding. He hasn't really... I feel like he hasn't been able to stabilize or bring the full might of his army to bear, and he's going to be pushed out of this game unless he's very careful. Please tell me this Panzer II isn't going to wipe these guys. No, it's not. But, I mean, damn this Panzer II. It's got, like, 20 kills. It's been raging out of control. KV-8 here is just going to push it away. The Panzer II is just going to, you know, it's not even going to give it more than, like, 5 meters of respect here. But he's going to give it the respect and stay out of range. Of course, the KV-8 can switch to its main gun, and that will put some pretty big holes in a Panzer II. Flame artillery going to come down here, but I feel that's another desperate and snatchy use there. Another pretty much a waste of, what is it, 120? 120 munitions, yeah. Obersoldaten getting into some... Actually, they're not actually in the cover here, really. But they could be... Oh my god, these Zis guns are so low. I feel like the Obersoldaten could just kill them both with a quick lick of LMG 34 fire there. But for now, going to be saved by the Penal Legion with the Flammenwerfer here. So I'm just having a look around the map. Maxim gets up into this church. That forces a couple of squads back, which is big. That's big stuff for Finndeed, who, let's not forget, actually doesn't have that many squads, still with a massive manpower float. What is he doing? He's actually got his battle group at HQ as well. Is he just going for a KT? Oh, so boring. Don't like KTs. Anyway, KV-8 here is going to get up on top of the Panzer II, gets to put some holes in it. The Panzer II actually gets a little bit awkwardly stuck here. That was the worst shot. How do you miss at that range against a stationary tank? Come on, KV-8, get your shit together. Jesus. This Panzer II is literally running rings around these units, and it's gonna get away. Oh no! I feel like if the KV-8 would have just chased there, then this Panzer II would have probably died, but it didn't. Anyway, no longer a clean sheet for our OKW player. 492 tickets there, so you know has been forced to give up some tickets at last. The Schwerpanzer HQ is getting focused down here. Zisgun is in the hood. These conscripts could come forward and grab this other Zisgun. Here comes the response, though. STG Volks leading the charge with LMG 34 Obers behind them. So a very stern response, and yeah, that's going to kill a Zisgun pretty quickly. Probably chew through these conscripts and the mortar too. So Kolter, buddy, you got to be on your toes here. You got to come up with a plan. This is a tough one. What's in the hood to respond here? Well, there are some penals. They're awkwardly suppressed for some reason. Didn't quite see what was the cause of that suppression, but anyway, KV-8 is going to transition down, and this is an appropriate response. Shame about the timing; it is a little late. I mean, I know they're not the fastest of tanks, KV-8s, but still. There we go, getting some good flaming there onto the very expensive Obersoldaten is absolutely right. Whoa, these Obersoldaten not falling back. Damn, Finndeed, you're a braver man than I. That's such an expensive squad. There we go, they are going to fall back. In fact, everything here falls back. That is so much flaming. And the Schwerpanzer HQ is going to do its best, but I believe the KV-8 can probably just come forwards and just boff this building down here. And let's see, I mean, like Finndeed, his present rate of income, he's probably still a good 3.5 minutes away from getting a King Tiger here. And he could have just, like, I don't know, gotten a Panther or a Jagdi or, like, a Panzer IV or, like, I don't know. He could have gotten something else out of this building, is what I'm saying. Su-76 is going to be the choice here for Kolter. I have to say, I do quite like this. It's going to add a lot of flexibility to his roster, not to mention a lot of nice indirect barrages, which are always useful, especially when your opponent has some nice high-value targets like Obers on the field. Doesn't take much to go your way. Doesn't take much to go wrong with a Su-76 barrage to gib Obersoldaten, you know. So I like that. I like that. I think that's a good choice, and of course it brings a little more AT to the table, and actually should make this Panzer II Luchs pretty much redundant as long as the Su-76 is in the right place at the right time. Not redundant, that's actually inaccurate wordiology. It's obsolete, I guess, is the word I'm looking for, perhaps. That's still not accurate, is it? Magpie. My wordiology is well off today. Here comes that Su-76 barrage. No, it's a Zisgun barrage, the good old-fashioned Zisgun barrage. Mortar's also hooning in, so the Soviet player really wants this this building here gone, and who can blame him? It does represent quite the investment for the Axis player. One which he's actually used as well, because he's got the two Obersoldaten squads out of it, so that's pretty good. Man, the Storm Pioneers just repair incredibly quickly, don't they? Especially when they got the repair tool package upgrade. Those are Fallschirmjäger, so we've got a commander pick at last. Finndeed going to be going for the Luftwaffe Ground Forces Doctrine. Immediately picking up 2 squads! Gross! He gets a Zisgun and the mortar just like in about a second or two's worth of action before those Fallschirmjäger fall back. That is exactly how I suppose they're supposed to be used, like elite spec ops geezers just like ninjaing out of a building and murking all your dudes. And that's what we see happen here. And then STG Volks kind of going to come in here and clean up the Zisgun, which was recrewed too quickly. And now these conscripts are too weak to really put up much of a fight. Okay, the KV-8's just going to say no here. But the Soviet player really needs to find some hits on the Storm Pioneers, because they're the guys keeping that building alive. And whilst they're repairing, they are actually like turbo weak as well. So that would have been the ticket, I think. Jeez, 50 points. I mean, I feel like this game hasn't been super terrible for Kolter. Like, he's had a fair shot. He's got to build up a reasonable army. He's had good amounts of units through this game. He's even had, you know, them out on the map. It's not like he's been unable to access the map. It's just he's been unable to orchestrate a decent fight, and he's been unable to coordinate his forces to bring them all to bear and kind of, you know, stake a claim out on the map. And for that reason, he's down on, like, he's like 420 tickets odd behind his opponent. Like, oh my goodness, that's just horrible. This KV-8 is going to repair here. It did manage to burn down a Rakettenwerfer, so that's something. And now the Su-76 is going to be able to use its, what is this thing called? Tracking. It significantly increases sight radius. So, oh no, but now the Su-76 is taking fire from the damn Schwerpanzer HQ. Oh, I hope Kolter sees this, because otherwise the Su-76 will die. I don't know who's going to win between the building and the tank here, or the tank destroyer, or the assault gun, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, KT is here, and that probably signals the end here. I mean, there's just no answer for a KT in this army. I think we're in the closing moments here of a bloody dominating display here from Finndeed. I mean, this game just went his way, didn't it? Man, Soviet players in the last few games that I've cast have just not looked so great. And I don't think this is like, you know, Axis Imba or like, you know, Soviet buff Soviets, or, you know, it's nothing like that. It's just, you know, I just don't think these have been particularly good games for these Soviet players. I mean, there have been plenty of mistakes here for Kolter. The KV-8 comes forward, sorry, the KT comes forward, nukes the KV-8, gonna nuke the Su-76 here. And I believe Kolter may stay in this game till the curtain falls, just to, you know, just for the participation award. No, he's gonna save us the time. There we go. Wow. Crazy. That was just, I feel like Finndeed played a good style, right? I think the best thing Finndeed did this game, he opened Mech Reg, and that was in response, like, by the time he put that Mech Reg down, he knew about the Special Rifle Command. Like, that was public information at that point, because he'd seen penal squads, and so he went for the Mech Reg. Now, whether that was his plan all along, or whether it was in response to the Special Rifle Command, whatever the case, Mech Reg is, like, definitely just what you want to be doing against a Special Rifle Command opener. Because, as I was saying, you know, repeatedly earlier in this game, the Special Rifle Command does struggle with countering vehicles. So the Panzer II Luchs was just turbo profitable this game. 24 kills on that little thing, 2 stars, nearly 3 of veterancy. That was a very efficient unit. And it gave him such field domination. Like, I think that Panzer II was probably single-handedly responsible for at least 200, maybe 250 points of Kolter's victory, of his life. So, I mean, that was just great. That was just great. So then Kolter was forced to sort of back tech after his T-70 went down, and that was a nice take again by Finndeed. Like, that was pivotal. The shoe mines were in the right place. The T-70 was chased down by the Luchs. Oh, that was lovely. That was just very nice. So then he was kind of forced to back tech a bit and go for the sport weapon Campanile, which honestly I don't hate, and I kind of think he maybe should have done it earlier anyway, because it's always nice to have the options that building provides. I find it very hard to play a stable game as Soviets without this structure. But I feel like when the 2 Zisguns came out onto the field, I feel like that was Kolter's moment to stabilize and actually take control of the game. And I think, like, he had the forces. His army was diverse and large enough with the right units that with the 2 Zisguns arriving in the mid, like, that was his moment. But I feel like he was just never able to orchestrate a fight or, like, get his line in order, you know? Finndeed was constantly harrying in with units and forcing squads to fall back, and although I reckon Kolter had the right army for the job at that point, he was never really able to bring it to bear. And even the Panzer II was able to just carve up in between the Zisguns, like, find a way in without getting hit or snared, and then run rings around the army. And then, you know, Zisguns don't look so great when there's a Panzer II in their face just kind of, you know, gunning them down. So I feel like although Kolter sort of he got off to a bad start, but he did the right thing. But then I think his execution with the right thing was lacking. Basically, those disc guns just they basically did nothing this game. I mean, they sieged down the Schwerpanzer HQ a bit, but I mean that did nothing. So, yeah, I think it was just execution there, and Finndeed, smart choice with the Fallschirmjäger. They also impacted for high damage. Smart choice with the Obersoldaten. One of them up to 2 stars, 18 kills on that unit. And anytime you start getting anytime you get 2 stars or more on your Obersoldaten, that's usually a good game for the Overcommand player. So yeah. Finndeed here with a very convincing display, and Kolter, I mean, like I say, I feel like he made kind of some of the right decisions, and he kind of had some of the right units and things, but I just think that the execution just wasn't quite there in this instance on this map. I'm not saying, oh, Kolter, you're a terrible player, why don't you, get good, buddy, LTP? No, nothing like that. I'm just saying, in this game, the execution there just wasn't there, and you only really get one shot, because, if you mess up the fight, Zisguns can't fall back, so that's it. So yeah, that is that. Thanks very much for watching. I think this evening I will be posting up on some Twitter and some YouTubes and some Facebooks and stuff like that about a funky stream that I'm going to be running on Sunday evening. So that's Sunday evening European time. So it's 1900. That's 7 in the evening Central European time. I'm going to be starting that stream. Probably just before then, actually, and it's going to be something funky and new. So I've got to go out for a while now. Otherwise, I'd do it now, but. There's going to be some funky new stuff appearing on the YouTube channel, a little bit of fresh art, a little bit of cool stuff going on to celebrate the fact that I'm finally going to be doing something that I've wanted to do for a long time. So do stay posted on that. It's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to it a lot. And as ever, thank you very much for watching. And this for now is Magpie842 signing out.